Hey everybody, it's Mecha Draco coming to you with another Observations of Society. And in today's Observations of Society, I wanted to discuss pedophilia. Now, I realize pedophilia is a bit of a taboo subject, and I'm not going to get too preachy about it or anything like that, but I wanted to discuss some of my personal opinions on the subject, as well as, of course, some of the misunderstandings that have occurred here within recent weeks or months, I guess you could say, that happened around like Milo and everything like that. For starters, I wanted to discuss my actual, obviously, opinion on the subject. I obviously don't condone pedophilia. I believe that it is wrong. I am not necessarily sold on the idea that it is, in fact, a mental illness, considering the fact that the same people who consider it a mental illness now considered being gay a mental illness, so I'm not really 100% sure on that one. Now, that being said, of course, though, that does not mean that I condone it, of course, by all means, but I would like to point out to people that it is something that we used to do. It is something we used to practice hundreds of years ago, and not even 100 years, like maybe not even 100 years ago. It was something that was not seen as such a horrible thing as we see nowadays. Now, many people would just simply say that that means that we are a more civilized society than we were 100 years ago. And I would say that we are. That's true. I would say that that's definitely, certainly a very good possibility. But I'm just saying that, it's kind of one of those things. It's hard to really say where it stands when it comes to what pedophilia is. Is it a mental illness? Is it not a mental illness? Is it just something that naturally occurs within society? I don't know. The point is, though, is that it's not good. Regardless of whether or not it's a mental illness, if it's not, if it's just a natural thing, it isn't a good. No matter how you look at it, it isn't a good thing. Treating children, or just the simple fact that you're trying to take advantage of children in a sexual manner, trying to take advantage of their curiosity, trying to take advantage of their innocence in such a way is a horrible thing. And I can't condone it in any way. Now, I will say that there are people out there, I think there are probably more people than we are willing to admit, that actually have pedophilic feelings, like emotions and other things like that towards people, but they simply don't express it. They don't express, they don't act upon, and they are people who are just like us, just like anybody else. Just because they have those feelings doesn't mean they have to act upon them. They know for a fact that it is wrong. They know that it is a bad thing. So they know that acting upon these things are a bad thing. So they know not to. And I think that's a good thing that most people are capable of understanding. You know what I mean? I think that most people are willing to admit that someone is not a bad person just because they have pedophilic feelings or emotions or anything like that. Just because they have an attraction towards a child doesn't mean that they are naturally a bad person. As long as they don't act upon it, and as long as they don't, nurture those feelings, then there's no problems. You know what I mean? And just because they have attractions towards children does not necessarily mean they don't still find other things attractive. So I'm just saying that I think that we shouldn't necessarily just label all individuals who have pedophilic feelings as just absolute monsters, because I'm pretty sure there's probably people out there who probably have it and just simply don't act upon it. So I don't want to necessarily say that it's a good thing. I'm not saying it is. In fact, if anything, I'm saying it's a horrible thing. And if you act upon your pedophilic feelings, then you're a terrible monster. However, anybody who has those feelings is not automatically a monster just because they have them. There are things that they can't help. I mean, just similar to being gay, it's something that they can't help. Whether that be because it is a mental illness or something else, the simple fact is that if they don't act upon it, then they're not wrong. And they're not wrong for having those feelings just as long as they don't act upon them. Now, this whole misconception that happened with Milo is what I'm going to move on to next. That was a big miscommunication. For anybody who doesn't know about it, apparently Milo went on to a talk show. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Rogan or something along those lines. He basically made mention of a period in which he, as a younger boy, engaged in pedophilic acts with a priest, apparently, in, I guess it was his school. I don't know if it was like it was one of those schools for boys, one of those Catholic schools for boys or something like that, or I don't really know 100% on that one. I'm not going to go into the details. It doesn't really matter to me in the long run. Fact is that there was a preacher and they had sexual encounters together. Now, according to Milo, he was not the victim. According to Milo, he stated that he himself was, in fact, the perpetrator. And the reason why he says that is because he thinks that he was taking advantage of the preacher. Now, can I say that that is the case? I don't know. I think a lot of people are kind of disregarding what he is saying. He is blatantly being honest in saying that he believes that he was the perpetrator, and that he was the one who was, causing the sexual acts to occur in the first place, because he was assaulting, I guess you could almost say, the preacher in the first place. He wasn't really, he was the one making the advances towards the preacher, not the preacher, not the other way around. Now, it's hard to say what my opinion on that particular subject is, because it's hard to say. I mean, the fact is that I know for a fact that I was a younger kid. When I was like 13 or 14, I would have probably done just about anything to have sex with my teacher. One of my teachers. I mean, my teachers I had a couple of very sexy teachers, and let's face it, I would have probably just done just about anything to get down one of their pants. But the point is that it's hard to say 100% anyways how... Can you really just say that it's the boy or it's the child who's making the assault towards the adult? And where is the adult's responsibility in this? Now, I think by law, in the long run, it doesn't matter if the child is the one who's being the perpetrator. In the long run, the adult is an adult. They're bigger than the child. They're stronger than the child. They're more responsible than the child. They should know that it isn't a matter of the child's decision. It's not the child's choice in the matter. It is your choice. You are the adult. You make the decisions. You are the one who decides that it's not going to happen, or if it is going to happen. You know what I mean? So the fact that this preacher didn't like stop it from happening, didn't stop Milo from doing what he was doing, it makes him just as much at fault as the preacher, as Milo is, I guess, you know what I mean? Regardless of whether or not Milo is actually to blame for all of this, the preacher is just as equally to blame because he's involved. Like, it doesn't matter whether or not the boy is perpetrating the act or not. It doesn't matter if the boy is pressuring towards towards the adult and trying to get into their pants or something along those lines. The fact is that the adult is an adult and should have the responsibility and the willingness to stop it from happening in the first place. So, do I think that Milo was in fact a perpetrator? To be honest with you, with the way that Milo acts and the way he seems to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me. But it doesn't take any blame off of the adult he was involved with, in my personal opinion anyways. And I mean, that's all I can really say on that particular subject. I know that this is a touchy subject, and I know it's not exactly what one of the best subjects to discuss, but it's something that's been on everyone's minds here recently, so I figured I might as well go on and discuss it a little bit. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed the video, and you guys know the drill: like, favorite, subscribe. And as always, good luck out there, guys, and don't forget to have fun.